But Anthony Davis completely shut this game down. This was one of the most impressive Anthony Davis performances we have seen throughout the course of this season. He ends up only scoring 16 points and getting 14 rebounds, but he blocks 5 shots. He ends up being a plus 31 when he's on the court in 28 minutes. Those numbers may not seem enormous, but you know what? They were enough whenever he was completely locking down the paint. So let's dive into the tape here and just kind of showcase how good Anthony Davis was in this game defensively. This first clip at the 7-minute mark of the first quarter, all of these clips are going to come from the first half, just because when we're doing a show like this, I have to kind of pull clips from the first half when we're going live immediately after a game like this. So here you're just going to see Anthony Davis. He is guarding Xavier Tillman. They're using Anthony Davis as the help defender. That is what their goal is here. They are letting Anthony Davis sag off of Xavier Tillman, and they're saying, okay, you want to drive? Anthony Davis is going to be there every time, because Xavier Tillman is not somebody that we think can shoot. So here you're going to see Anthony Davis close out hard to Desmond Bane. He's going to recover back onto Xavier Tillman, and then he's just going to be available. And Dillon Brooks gets called for this off-arm foul. Dillon Brooks had no chance to finish that shot anyway. Anthony Davis is just so incredibly long, rotating along that back line. I love the way that they utilized Anthony Davis here as a help defender in that possession by having him guard Xavier Tillman. I think it is super, super sharp.
And Sam, one thing, if I could, from a philosophical standpoint here, I think there were folks out there who were worried, how would the Lakers match up with Ja Morant at the point of attack? He's so much quicker than some of the guys like Austin Reeves or D'Angelo Russell. Isn't he going to have such a marginal advantage at the point of attack? If you have a place to hide Anthony Davis as a help defender and station him near the rim, it almost doesn't matter. And what we forget, because Davis is so often injured, is how dominant of a rim protector and a defender he was. If he was healthy for a little bit longer of a stretch, I probably would have had him first team all defense this year. Like really, really impactful guy.
And for what it's worth, I did have him second team all defense. I felt great about it. And at the end of the day, the reason is because he played just as many minutes as Jaren Jackson. He played a couple hundred minutes more than Jaren Jackson. I thought Jaren was a little bit more active throughout the course of the regular season. Anthony Davis does take a few games off here and there, even when he's playing defensively, which for me is why I ended up kind of dropping him to that second team. But he was the 4th guy I had in Defensive Player of the Year, as I talked about on the awards podcast with Mark Schindler. And I ended up with him second team all defense because his impact when he's locked in, there is no better defender in the NBA. There's absolutely no better defender in the NBA than Anthony Davis when he is locked in. So here we're going to come down. He is guarding Jaren Jackson this time because he just had to pick up in transition. And you're just going to see this ridiculous help defense just grab of this ball from Ja Morant. This is just obscene. He just absolutely swallows it up. Like I don't even know, like it's a tennis ball, I guess. It's just the easiest thing in the world for him in help defense. Desmond Bane here misses this shot. Jaren Jackson gets an offensive rebound. And again, just completely cannot finish over the top of Anthony Davis. LeBron James gets an assist on that one as well here. Memphis is going to inbound the ball here. They're going to bring it down the court. This is going to be Dillon Brooks trying to attack and do too much, as Dillon Brooks is wont to do. Just look at the length there. Look at how difficult it is to finish over that outstretched arm of Anthony Davis. You have to get the ball so high. You have to change the trajectory on your floater so much that it is incredibly difficult to get that ball up over Anthony Davis. They do get the rebound, but again, Anthony Davis comes over, rotates over, protects the basket on that shot from Xavier Tillman. These are the stats I wanted to show. Anthony Davis's closest defender in this series: Ja Morant shooting 35%, Jaren Jackson Jr. 32%, Dillon Brooks 21%, Desmond Bane 15%. That is obscene, especially the Ja Morant number, because a lot of those shots would be coming at the basket. Completely ridiculous. Anthony Davis defensive production in this series. I genuinely kind of wonder, is this a series that he took just like personally? Because Jaren Jackson is going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year, or has already won Defensive Player of the Year this year. And Did he just decide I am the best defender in the world and I'm going to show that here? Here, this is just simple. He's just here and they're completely terrified to go inside on him. I know Tyus Jones absolutely loves that floater, but he has an angle. Like there's no reason for him to take that floater from 15 feet beyond being just terrified to go into the paint. Here, Anthony Davis just gets it, grabs the rebound, ends the possession. Here again, Anthony Davis just ready, low, sliding, making life impossible for Ja Morant and drop coverage. This is why you and I and people that have been on the show with me previously, we have always talked about the fact Ja Morant needs more than just that floater, and he needs more than just the 3-point shot from distance when someone goes way under him. He needs a mid-range jumper for the Grizzlies to really be able to reach their ceiling as a team.
Yep. And beyond that, I mentioned earlier, series are kind of not won and lost necessarily behind the 3-point line. It's a lot more, can you win the battle on the interior? So those shots matter. But what I really mean by that in this series is, for the Grizzlies, it's not just whether the 3-point shots go in, it's whether the guys who are taking them or just standing out there are respectable enough to command attention. Because over the course of a best of 7 series, you're guarded not whether you make the shots every time, but whether you're capable of making those shots every time you're left open. So you look at the corners in all of these different possessions, and it's Jaren Jackson Jr. or Xavier Tillman and Ja Morant trying to get downhill from the middle of the floor. And it's so hard to keep the lane spaced. The Grizzlies want to play more of a 5-out spaced type of scheme. But when Jackson's not an elite threat from 3, when Tillman is much more of a gritty playmaker than he is a knockdown shooter, and he is capable of making them. But if you're the Lakers, you're probably going to live with that above a Ja Morant shot. Yeah. If he's taking 6, 8, 10 of them a game, it's a win for the Lakers. So I think that this was a series that was built for them to succeed, just in the fact that they had places to put their bigger guys so that they could stay closer to the basket and say, all right, we dare Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, and Ja Morant to make enough jumpers, mid-ranges, and floaters to beat us, because that is not Ja's game in volume. And if you're going to be able to take away Ja Morant and say, all right, it's Brooks and Bane who end up beating us, live with it. I thought Bane was great in a couple games this series, which got the Grizzlies a few wins. But we saw over the course of the entirety of the series, that numbers battle really bared out well for the Lakers.
Yeah, and look, we should note for the Grizzlies that they were with.
Lost your audio there for a second, Sam.
Not sure what happened there. We should note that the Grizzlies, of course, were without Steven Adams, Brandon Clark in this series. They were without Luke Kennard tonight. They had real depth problems. They especially in the front court, had no real versatility in terms of the looks that they could give the Lakers. On top of it, I know that you don't traditionally think of Steven Adams as a guy that would like thrive in this series, but even having 15 minutes a game of Steven Adams being able to just lean on Anthony Davis and make his life miserable, I think would have helped the Memphis Grizzlies immensely in this series.
Well, and it would have given them an offensive rebounding presence in a way that Jackson and Tillman aren't necessarily built for. And we saw that where they were standing in the corners or in the short corners and not making themselves felt in other ways, where they're setting physical screens. And I mean, Adams is one of the best at sustaining contact and just being massive, so guys can't get around him. That gives the attacking guards a little bit more room and time to play with. He's great at attacking and getting tip outs for second chance points, or just being there as an active body that everybody else has to chip down on, so that there are more wide open shots available from 3. Like all of those small little things that Steven Adams does, the absence of them in this series was really felt.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And look, like Xavier Tillman, like averaged, I think, like 3 offensive rebounds per game in this series. Like they were available. Like he had 5 offensive rebounds in game 2. They were there. If it was Steven Adams, they would have gotten even more of them. It is a real factor, I think, that Steven Adams is not in this series, even just for little limited bursts. So here, to get back to the tape again, we're just going to continue to run through this. This is just crazy. They throw the ball into Xavier Tillman with, I believe that's 9 seconds left on the shot clock, and asks Xavier Tillman to like create something on the block. They literally empty out the side of the court for him to create something on the block against Anthony Davis. Or no, that's Jaren Jackson. That one, I'm sorry. Still just as bad of an idea. We're going to get to the Tillman one later. This is just as bad of an idea. There's no circumstance where Anthony Davis is going to be allowed to be scored upon by Jaren Jackson in that spot. Here we go again. Anthony Davis just completely orchestrating. You can see him here just moving along. And here he just is ready to contest and help. As soon as Xavier Tillman makes this face cut, here he is. He's there, tries to block the shot, contests the rebound, makes it difficult. Again, you're going to see here, this is Anthony Davis actually showing. This is a different situation in ball screen coverages because it's Desmond Bane instead of John Morant. Instead of dropping for John Morant in the middle of the court, they were hard hedging Desmond Bane to try and run him off the line. Desmond Bane has had a terrific series being able to get free, especially in drop coverage. He has knocked down a couple of threes, particularly in game 5, in circumstances where they dropped him. In this game, they decided to hard hedge him, have Anthony Davis recover. And here they're just going to end up with a turnover. Really, really sharp, I think, scheme-wise from the Los Angeles Lakers. I believe this one is the Xavier Tillman post-up, right? Yeah, they think Tillman has position on Anthony Davis, and he just gets swatted. I have no idea what the thought was there. That was a nightmare fuel set. And then finally, this is just going to be another drop. Look at this, just low, stays low, ready to contest the whole way. That's not a great shot for John Morant. That's an easy contest for Anthony Davis. Just across the board, I thought this was very, very, very well played by the Lakers, very well schemed, very sharp from this team. And Keaton Arnold in the YouTube comments asks, what defensive adjustments did you notice on Desmond Bane tonight? I thought they switched a lot more of his actions off the ball. And then I thought on the ball, they hard hedged him a lot more so that he couldn't just walk in to those threes off of screens or off of flipped screens, right? They made his life harder. They made him retreat instead of walking into shots. And I thought that was a really, really smart move from Darvin Ham. I thought Darvin Ham did a really great job in this game. I've had as many questions as possible about Darvin Ham. Everything he did tonight, I thought was really, really high level. I wore the Memphis State shirt tonight in honor of the Grizzlies. I'm very, very sorry that this is happening to you, Memphis fans. I apologize for it. Not my fault, but nonetheless, yeah, it's a tough spot for the Memphis Grizzlies now moving forward.